Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Creativity Broadcast. I am your host, Laura. The whole point of this channel is to help you connect more with the purity of your creative magic and to just delight in all things beauty, art, music, soul. Today, I'm here to do an artist chat specifically about a concert that totally broke my brain over the weekend. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this weekend, I got to go to Radio City Music Hall in New York City to see Gregory and Isakov play a concert with the Colorado Symphony Orchestra. And the conductor of that orchestra is Christopher Dragon. I wish I knew all of the names of the people of the musicians in the symphony orchestra because they were incredible. There's a couple of things that I want to share about this. First, from the perspective of being a fan of music, I have been listening to Gregory and Isakov's music since maybe 2009, 2010. And the first time that I saw him play live was 2010 in Washington, D.C., in the basement of I think it was the Sixth and I Synagogue, now that I think about it. His opener was a guy named Patrick Park, who I loved and whose CD I bought and listened to for a really long time after that. And I think I was maybe one of like 15 people in that audience that night. I'd been listening to Gregory's albums that were out, This Empty Northern Hemisphere and That See the Gambler. I found them through Pandora. I think I was like listening to some kind of like sad folk Pandora station while working on my, poetry assignments for my final semester in college. And there was the first song that I ever heard was that Moon song. And if you listen to Greg's music, you will understand. There is like there's this tension in his music between feeling really connected, like the wonder that you feel when you look up at the night sky and you see the moon. There's like a connectedness, but there's also a loneliness and like a yearning and a longing. And there's something about that tension that is deeply moving to me, and based on how much his listenership has grown, clearly moving to a lot of people. So for me, the opportunity to go and see his music get brought to life, not only with him and his awesome band, but to have a symphony orchestra fill out this whole other beautiful, majestic picture of what his music can be and feel like was so special. I've seen him play so many times. I've been so lucky. And this was a concert that just cracked my heart open in a way that I didn't expect. And so first, I just want to say, I wish for everyone to have this level of like connection and intimacy and just feeling so seen in somebody's art. It reminds me of this quote from the play, The History Boys. I'm going to totally butcher it, but it's something along the lines of, when you read something, or in this case, you listen to something that makes you feel really seen, something that you understand, a feeling that you thought maybe you were the only person who ever had this feeling. When you feel it in somebody's art, it's like someone is just reaching out through time and space and just taking your hand. And so when you find an artist that speaks to you like that, you have to hold on to them and hold them close. And one of the things I admire so much about Greg as an artist is that, why did I not think I was going to cry doing this video? is that he, from my perspective, like a longtime listener and watcher, he lives a life and has like this artist's life that seems really true to him. Like, we don't get a zillion albums. We get them when they're right and when they're ready. For many years, he didn't tour a ton. He's like touring a lot right now, which is probably good for everybody's souls and hopefully for his too. But he loves the music. The music is the most important thing, and you can feel it when you're at his show. He's not overly chatty. You can kind of tell that like the service of the music and the service to the music is the thing that means the most. And there's something about the holding true to that, and that with every album that he releases, it's like his essence just gets further refined. And I just find that to be so extraordinarily moving as an artist. You know, I think so many of us, when we're working on our own art and our evolution as an artist, we can get really caught up in these internal conversations about like, what do people want to see from me? Or is it going to be well received? Or should I try to fit into this mold or fit into this box? And I know that life is more complicated than this thing I'm about to say. But from my perspective, what I see in Greg is a person who loves the music so deeply and also is really committed to living a good, beautiful life that really serves him, you know? And I'm sort of making all of this up based on what I know about his farm in Colorado, and what he's said in interviews about how hard it is to tour and be away from, I mean, not only people you love, but also the potatoes that he's growing. And there's just something very hobbity about this that I find very moving, especially as I'm at a moment where I'm really just beginning to live my musician dream and starting to see what that feels like and staying true to myself and my well-being along the way. So, Greg, thank you. It's really cool. One other thing I wanted to say about this is that I have had, like I said, I've had the privilege of seeing Greg play, I don't know how many times, in lots of different venues. And as his listenership has grown, this is going to sound really snooty, and I don't mean for it to sound snooty. It's just kind of a true feeling that I've had is like, as we've gone to see him in bigger venues, I've sometimes had the feeling of like, I wish it were smaller, not necessarily because, I mean, of course, you always want like intimacy and proximity with the people who make the music that you love. Like that's sort of a wish I think a lot of people have. It feels very special when you have opportunities for that. Like when I got to see Guster play in Woodstock at Bearsville Theater, there were like maybe 200 of us there. It was really little, and it was like the coolest night of my life. But I think it's more that the way that I've experienced this music is so intimate and so personal. Like it's been my companion and kind of like my emotional thought partner for so many years through a lot of really challenging situations and a lot of really happy times, but also a lot of really challenging situations. And so for me, there's this sort of like contemplative nature with which I like to take in his music. And when I see him play live, I want to like feel it, you know? And I think when you have bigger crowds and you have more reach, people just have maybe a different relationship with that, or it's a venue that's like oversold and we're all crunched together and people are drinking and being the way they are at concerts. And that's okay. I was probably like that when I was younger. But I have felt sometimes like I wish that everybody here were treating this music with reverence and care and like letting this nice, lovely man who wants to play this beautiful music for us just do it in his way and just receive that from him. And getting to see this show, not only with a symphony orchestra, with like his BFF Symphony Orchestra, but seeing it at a venue like Radio City, where like everything about it is like beautiful and majestic, and you can't help but feel this sense of like reverence and grandeur. I can't even talk about grandeur when you're in a place like that. The seats are comfortable. The venue's beautiful. The ushers are impeccable. You know, it's like a really nice. So being able to take in somebody's art that you love so deeply when it's like held in that particular container was really moving. Like the second that they started playing and the lights went down, I was just hit with this feeling of like, oh, thank goodness. Wow. And to be able to sit in an audience and experience this music that I've loved so intimately and quietly in my own life. Again, within that tension of feeling connected and also feeling sad. To me, this is like one of the purest essences of art, is this tension between like the beauty of something and the dread of something. It's like we have this, when you can kind of be in that resonance where it's all one experience. To me, it's some of the most beautiful experiences in my life. And so just having that moment of being like, wow, this is such a dream. And I just get to be in it for 2 hours. Like, wow. And the music itself was so incredible. If you're watching this and you are a longtime fan, you know that Greg and the Colorado Symphony Orchestra did put out an album 10 years ago now. I think it was 2016 when it came out. The single that came out was Liars, which I listened to on some streaming website, like obsessively, maybe like 3 zillion times before the album came out. And the album itself was so beautiful. And of course, his catalog has grown since then. And so they have incorporated arrangements for the other albums that have come out since then. And wow, that's all I can really say is, wow. There is something amazing about not only getting to hear and feel and experience in person all of these different instruments coming together to bring these songs to life in a completely different way. Like they're alive in a new way. That's always amazing to me about getting to see a favorite artist live when they play the stuff you love, is like it's there and it's living right with you in that moment instead of the recording of it, which you do whatever you want with. Like it's transcendent to me. And the other thing that was really cool, I mean, hats off to whoever did the stage picture and the lighting design. Like it was very evocative of the album cover for this Empty Northern Hemisphere, which had me very emotional in the first place, being like one of the most important albums to me, I think, of all time. But then watching Christopher Dragon conduct this music was like this whole other dimension of cool, you know, like when you see a conductor who is like really passionate and like really good at what they do, really connected to their orchestra, like, I don't know, it just adds this whole other vitality and aliveness and depth to what it is that you're getting to experience. And so, Greg, if you're watching this, I don't think you ever got to see that because you were standing right in front of him on stage. But like, whoa, it was almost like the conductor was like conducting what I was feeling in the moment, like directing my emotions. It was so amazing. It was almost like doing interpretive dance to these songs. It was so cool. Yeah, it was just really, really special. It was so special, in fact, that I cried, tried to be quiet about it, but I did cry through pretty much the whole concert that first night. About halfway through, I remembered, similar to this, I remembered that I had brought a couple Kleenex, so I was like dabbing at my cheeks a little bit. And a very special moment occurred, not only hearing Mistakes from Appaloosa Bones, hearing the arrangement for Appaloosa Bones, oh my God. But then hearing the song Birth get played, not only live, I've never heard him play it live, but with the orchestra. Birth is one of my favorite songs. It's from Evening Machines. It's the very first song. It feels like you're, embarking on a voyage when you listen to that song. And I incorporated some lyrics from it in this tattoo that's on my arm. And so when I heard it opening, I was like, oh, cool. I know he didn't do it for me, but it felt like he did. Kind of felt like the whole night was for me. And so I'm just taking in, what is it like to hear this song brought to life in this totally different way? Strings, horns, just extraordinary. And, you know, that song has a really powerful refrain, quit all that, quit all that, quit all that, looking back. New York lady holding in her heavy hand, sacred lantern guiding dawn. Absolutely beautiful. So evocative. And when I first moved here to the Hudson Valley, I was moving on from a number of different things in life, and I would go on these long nature walks. Wow, excuse me. I can tell how pure and vulnerable this is to say because my throat keeps getting scratchy. So I would take these long walks and just try to move stress out of my system. And I listened to that song so many times. So when I was thinking about a tattoo to get, just to kind of commemorate the change, I was like, oh, it's got to have that phrase, not quit all that looking back, but a phrase that happens later in the song that to me represents this sort of new chapter beginning. There's a woman's voice that sings, her color, her color, her color is coming back. Her color, her color. And then the music changes and you can kind of feel this sense of this woman letting go of her burden and getting on this boat and sailing to a new shore. So my tattoo has a mermaid and a moon. And it says her color is coming back on it. So imagine my surprise when we get to that point in the song and he's changed the lyrics and the melody. So I need to know the story behind this. I'm very curious about this because instead of that piece of the song being there, we got something different. We got and I hold my breath, which was stunning and beautiful. They all sang it. It was beautiful, but it was surprising. And I was like, dude, if you're changing the lyrics that are on my arm, I need the story behind this. And also, can you play it one time for me with it in it? Or do you just want me to come and provide the vocals for that one part? I will, anytime. Oh, anyway, that was like, that was kind of a bit of a crazy moment. I was just like, wow, I can't believe this is the one thing in the whole night that I would have this kind of connection to. And it was changed. So I don't know what that means. You'll have to let me know if you think there's some kind of like message or like spiritual conversation happening. I told my sister and she was like, that's a spell. And I was like, okay, I don't know what, but anyway, that was pretty interesting. So the other thing I want to tell you all is, you know, I went Friday night and, I mean, it was extraordinary. My husband and I sat in the first mezzanine and we got to buy one of the beautiful posters and it was just like the best, dreamiest concert ever. I was just like, I don't need anything to ever be better than this. Like the fact that I got to have this experience, to just feel this music being, you know, when something's that important to you and it feels matched like that, it's really special. So I was so happy. The next morning, I feel like I just couldn't stop crying about how much I loved it. And I felt so surprised because these are all songs that I've known, and it's not like I can't listen to the record where he plays with the Colorado Symphony Orchestra, and I've seen him play so many times. But there was something about this that just really cracked my heart wide open. And I found myself on Ticketmaster looking at what could I get to come a second night. And I'm not close by. It takes me like 2.5 hours to get to Manhattan right now. But I just felt so strongly that I wanted to be there and enjoy it a little bit more. I was thinking about it and I was like, this is kind of my Super Bowl. So I bought an orchestra ticket. I got a really good deal, and it was maybe like 15, 20 rows back, right in the middle. And I just hopped on the train and I went. And I'm so glad I did. The set list the second night was a little different, and I got to hear, for the first time, I got to hear him play the song Idaho. Never heard him play it in person. I've seen in the Facebook fan group that when he plays shows in Idaho, he does play that song because it would be sort of weird not to, but that he introduces it by being like, don't make it weird. Like, don't cheer every time we say Idaho or something, which is really funny to me. And the arrangement for Idaho, which, if you know the album, you know, so many songs in that album sort of just feel like the experience of looking up at the sky in different contexts. Idaho, to me, sounds like pink and purple sky. I don't know. You got to listen to it. And hearing that song arranged for band plus symphony orchestra, and the surprise of it, the tenderness of it, the beauty of it, is probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced. So everything about it was great. For other fans that might be watching this, please comment, tell me what you loved, or tell me if you had an experience like this, seeing him play somewhere else, or even if you don't know who he is. I want to know if you've had that level of feeling that scene, that broken open by a piece of music. It's really special. I think in closing, as an artist to artist, I'm just talking to all of you like you are the artist that you are. I think one lesson that we can all take from this is the true power and magic of loving something very purely. Just letting it affect you. Letting the love for it open us up. And I think that's also a very powerful lesson for our creativity. You know, so many of us are like rummaging and cycling through projects and trying to figure out, you know, is this the thing? And I think what we can really take from an artist like Gregory and Isakov is that it's a long voyage to be walking arm in arm with your creative spirit. And I think the thing we should be most interested in is like, what's the purest expression of mine right now? And just sink into that over and over and to trust it. Yeah. Thank you all for joining me for this artist chat today. If you're at the concert, let me know in the comments. And if this kind of conversation was interesting to you, or you just like the way that I'm talking about creativity, my channel, The Creativity Broadcast, is all about having space for this level of connection and play and, you know, the purity of our creative magic. So you can subscribe. I put out a new video every week. Often they are collective creativity readings where I'm using my intuition and a bunch of cool card decks to deliver specific messages to help us with our creative path. But I also do artist chats like this and sometimes updates about my own work. And yeah, it's a good place to be. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me. Thanks for letting me cry all over you. That's it.